Good evening, students. So, today we will start with our last topic for our chapter number 2, that is our RMON, right? That is remote monitoring. Okay, so in our last session, we have discussed about our different network management protocols and what are their different features, right? So, we have already seen in the last session that is architecture of our network management, that is also we will call it as a network management system, in short NMS, right? Then there are different protocols also we have seen, just like your SNMP, simple network management protocol of different versions, that is version 1, version 2 and version 3, and what are the differences in between all these kind of the versions, right, with their examples also we have discussed. Then we'll have done with this our MIBs, that is the management information basis, right? So in these also there are three types, that is MIB1, MIB2 and the private MIBs, and that is vendor specific. That one Cisco's MIB we have also seen. Okay, so all these things we have covered in our last session. Okay, so today we will discuss one more network management protocol, that we can call it as an RMON. Okay, it also undergoes into two types, that is RMON 1 and RMON 2, that is remote monitoring 1 and remote monitoring 2. Then we will see net flow. Okay, how we are going to use this particular net flow. Then CDP, that is Cisco discovery protocol, right? So it will be specific with the only to the Cisco devices, right? So how it can be discovered different internet working devices with respect to the Cisco's, that also we will see with one diagram. And last one is your the syslog, right? The how the log can be generated, and it can be saved, it can be configured in a way that you can easily monitor your network infrastructure with all these things, right? So we will see all the remaining part today. Okay, so let's start with the session. Okay, so this we have already covered, so let's start with the RMON, right? So first of all, this RMON is nothing but what the remote monitoring, right? So it is nothing but one standard, right? So it will be allows you for the packet and traffic patterns on our LAN segments, okay, which you need to be monitored, right? So what the RMON can used, right? It can be analyzed or it can be monitored, right? So it will be takes as a number of packets, right? Then the what is the packet sizes of that particular in a network, right? What are the different broadcast addresses or broadcast we can say the packets, right? Then how the network is going to be utilized in our network in that particular scenario, from sending and receiving part, right? And then errors and condition, right? For example, some ethernet collisions are there, and then that can be also monitored. Then statistics for all the kind of the hosts which are connected in a network, right? uh, then it will be also include your error generated by host, right? So for example, some hosts are generating giving you some of the errors, right? Or some any busiest host is there, which are accepting and responding to that particular in communication, right? So that also it will be monitored, right? So in this way this particular remote monitoring can be happen, uh, who can tracks or who can monitor all these things, right? So what are the number of packets are there, what is the different packet sizes are there, which are the packets are broadcasting packages, what is the network utilization in that particular scenario, in that particular communication, right? What is the errors and condition, if any ethernet collisions are there or not. Then different host based statistics will be there, right? So there are different categories of host, right? So which are generating errors are different one, the busiest hosts are different one, right? How the communication can be happen in between all the host, right? that can be also be can be monitored, right, in this particular remote monitoring part, right. Then what are the different features, right. So now for example, in Armon we can configure, right, so various part, like for example, any alarm, right, for example any user defined threshold you can set, right. So the threshold you can manage, right. So up to this size of the packet you need to monitor your network, right. Then you can capture, or you can apply a different filters, right. So user defined filters you can also apply in this particular remote monitoring, right. So in short, you already seen about this Wireshark part, right. So there are also a different filters and all the depending upon the different protocols, right. TCP, UDP and all that things, right. Traffic based protocols, source IP based protocol, the destination IP based filtering, right. So all this kind of the thing also you can do in Armon, right. So there are a different groups we can call in this particular Armon, right. So we will see what are their groups are, right. So if you see in the first diagram, right, so there are um, different we can call it as an agents, right. So here if you see, one second. Yes, so if you see here, so total there are 1 to 10, right. So 10 agents are there, right. So 10 we can call it as the groups are there, right. So we will see one by one explanation for each and every groups, what is its purpose, right. The first of all, if you see this first group is nothing but about the statistics, right. So it will the Armon can collect the statuses in the form of what, in the form of whatever the network packets can be sent, right, whatever the bytes can be sent, what are the different broadcasting packets are there, multicasting packets are there, right, what are their routes, what are any CRC checksum errors are there, right, then what is that, right, any collisions are there, right, what are the different interfaces of that particular devices are there, right. So all these kind of the thing, right, the current statistics of your network, it can be monitored in this particular first group, right. Then if you see the second group is about your the history, right. So it will be it will be store your periodical statistical history, right, or or samples for the sorry, for your later use, right. Then the third group is your alarm, right. So it will be used for you can as I already said, you can apply or you can use some customized filter, right. And depending upon, or you can set the any threshold, right, threshold value. So depending upon that particular threshold value, you can use this particular alarm thing, right. So if the threshold is crossed, right, then that particular alarm can be triggered, right. So this particular third group. Then the fourth one is your host group, right. So you can also monitor a host based, you can collect the statistics, right. For example, XYZ host you wanted to monitor only, right. So that provision is also there in Armon. So only a single host or two or three specific host also you can be monitored with the help of this particular Armon, right. Then next is your host top n, right. So it will be gives we can call it gives you the statistics, right, for the host, which can be if you see the number of hosts, right, if you are wanted to monitor, right. So that particular list you need to maintain in that particular configuration, okay. So which are the number of hosts, for example first 3 7 and 9 number of hosts you wanted to monitor, then that you need to put it in your the configuration. And by using this particular host to n host top n group, you can do that things, right. The next group is your the sixth one is your the matrix, right. So it will gives you the mainly the communication, or we can call it as in conversation statistics, right. So what will be the packet sent or byte sent from location A to location B, right? For example, to host, right? So host A and from host B, in this particular communication, how many number of packets or bytes can be exchanged or can be take place, right? So all these things, conversation based statistic, it will be used in matrices, right? Then the seventh group is your the filter, right? So as you know, in filter that will be used, we are using it for our data filters, right? Data packet filters. Okay, so whatever the rules you are generating, right, or whatever the events you are generating, right, so depending upon that, you can apply the filters, packet filters, right, in this by using this particular group, right? Then the next one is your the packet capture, right? So whatever the data packets you are using it to match that particular rules, right? So in that packet filter group, right? So by using this particular packet capture, you can use that group for the analysis part, right? Then group number 9 is for the events, right? So whatever the um, what predetermined condition or what is the notification of events of that particular devices, right? So that data can be or that information can be generated, okay, and it will be saved in this particular events group, okay. And the last one is your the token rings, right? So these particular token rings, it gives you and the harmon extensions, right? For example, there are different ring extensions are there. If I wanted to list out a different ring extension, then for example, the ring station is there, then ring station configuration is there, right? So which will be having some detailed statistics about individual stations, right? Or it will be having some configuration information of that particular each station, which will be used for your routing part, right? So all these things are there with which will be stored in this particular with the help of this token ring group, right? So these are the total 10 groups will be there in harmon 1, okay. And if you all these things which are related to your only a we can call it as two layers only, right? The physical layers and the data link layer, right? If you see in the second diagram, right? So harmon 1 is only responsible for your physical and data link layer part only, right? Because it having some problems, right, with these particular two layers, right? So and it will be not available for the higher part of the layers, right? So that's why these you cannot capture and decode the different tools, right? So that's why the to overcome this problem, right, so we are introducing this particular harmon 2 here, right? So it will be extend the functionalities of whatever the functionality is giving by this particular harmon 1, right? So if you so there are different groups also there for harmon 2 like this particular harmon 1, right? So harmon 2 is nothing but the extension of this particular harmon 1 group, right? So if you see in this particular harmon 1, okay, so you will see here harmon 1 to 10, all the groups are over here, right? And harmon 2 groups, right? So from 11 to 19, all the harmon 2 groups are there, right? And this is nothing but your MIB, right? What we have seen in our last session, right? That ISO, ORG, DOD, Internet Management, MIB2, right? So these are nothing but your MIB, okay. So this one is your harmon 1, this is your harmon 2, and this is your MIB, right? So management information basis, right? So there are different we can call it as groups also there for the harmon 2. Like for example, if I wanted to tell you that the first group is nothing but here the protocol discovery, right? So what do you mean by protocol discovery? So it will be obviously the name gives you the answer, right? So whatever the list of the protocols will be there, right, that particular device is supporting, right? So it will be gives you by using this particular protocol discovery group. right? The second one is your protocol dist, that means protocol distribution group, right, which will be gives you the all the traffic statistics for each protocol that can be used in that particular networking part, right? Then the third one is your address mapping, right? So it will be gives you the network layer to MAC layer address mapping, right? So IP to MAC mapping it will be gives you, right? Then the fourth one is your network layer host, right? So it will be giving you the statistics for the only a networking layer of networking layer uh, to each host, right? So whatever the traffic which will be transferred from this all the networking layer part, right? So it will be up till what, up till the host end users, right? So it will be managed or monitored in this particular network layer host, right? Then again network layer matrices, right? So all the traffic statistics and what we are seen in this particular armon1 also the matrix, right? But here it is nothing but the network layer matrix, right? So it will be useful for the conversation in between the pair of host, right? So all the with respect to all the traffic statistic for that particular conversation, it can be managed in this particular group, right? Then the next one is application layer host, right? So all the statistics with respect to the application layer traffic to each host, right? It can be managed. Then application layer matrices, so application layer traffic statistics between the conversation of layers, right? So it can be also useful. Then next one is your user history collection, right? So whatever it will be collecting the samples, right? So that samples which can be a user specific variables, right? So that's you need to be store, right? So by using this particular group, okay. And the last one is your the probe configuration, okay. So by using remote configuration of all these particular parameters, right? So that in SNMP also we have seen that particular trap message and all that things, right? So their destination and all that things you need to send, you need to store it into the configuration file, right? So that is nothing but your the probe configuration, okay. So all these are nothing but your armon 2 groups, right? So from 1 to 10 is for your armon 1, and from 11 12 13 14 to your 19 is your last one is your probe configuration is for your armon 2, right? And who is useful to store all this kind of the groups information into the variables, so that is nothing but your the MIB, right? And what is the structure of MIB? If you see here iso.org.internet.management.mib2, right? So this is nothing but the structure for your MIB, okay. So whatever the groups are there in armon 1, it will be extended to your armon 2, right? And we have seen all the purpose for all each and every groups, right? So this is all about your armon 2, right? Then we will see the net flow, right? What do you mean by this net flow? And it's, if you see in this particular diagram also, right? So this particular net flow we are using for the to detect or to collect or to measure this particular flaws, right? Which can be passes through any Cisco devices, right? So if you ask or if you consider in this particular net flow, right? So it will be gives you all the WH answers, right? WH answers means what, all the what, if you using what, when, where, and how this particular traffic can be transfer or traffic can be flows into that particular network, right? So all the answers which will be given by this particular net flow, okay. So what kind of the information then it will be gives you, right? So it will be gives you the all the network management related information, right? So whatever the applications you are using for network management, right? So it will be gives you in terms of graphs, it will be gives you in terms of the tables, right? It will be gives you IP information, it will be gives you transport packet transport information, it will be gives you your security layer information, for example ACLs, right? For example, internet networking devices related information, right? Then it will be gives you your QoS related information, right? So each and everything it will be gives you, right, with respect to that. Then if you see this uh, yes, there are some certain applications, right? So that net flow can gives you, okay. For example, if you see the accounting and billing, right? Because so in that part also the net flow can be used. Why it can be used? Because if you see the whatever the data which are generated, right? So it having some IP address, it having some package byte counts, right? Timestamp, it's also having, it having some application port number, right? So all these kind of the network related information it will providing you, right? So in then what is the application of it again? The network planning and analysis, right? So any kind of the, if you're planning any kind of the network, right, we have also seen the network audit, then network traffic analysis, right? So in that also this particular net flow tool is very much important, right? So it will also one of the functionality of netflow is for you can use this particular thing for planning and analysis. You can use this particular netflow for your the network monitoring, right? You can create some user profiles as well, and you can use that particular user monitoring also, it can be possible by using this particular netflow infrastructure, right? then then if you see if you compare this particular net flow with Armon, right, then the question may arises, right? So sir, which one is best for our network? Because we have already studied this particular Armon, which are remote monitoring, and now the concept comes the net flow, right? So which also one of the tool to collect the networking information with respect to your all the devices, if you see in this particular diagram as well, right? So which one is the best, right? So if you compare all these two, right, because what happen in netflow, you need to configure it in depending upon the user or your interest, right? For example, if you wanted to monitor each individual interfaces, right? If you wanted to monitor one client network traffic, right, which are going to that particular interfaces, right? then uh, then there are a different types of the information you can be collected, right? So for example, you can connect a different you can collect a different source and destination interfaces. You can collect their IP addresses, then input and output interface numbers, then what are their TCP UDP ports are there, then number of bytes packets whatever which are flowing in that particular network, right? Then any that timestamp of that particular day, right? So if you compare all these we can call as an network monitoring protocols or network monitoring tools, right? So SNMP, Armon, MIB, NetFlow, right? All these are collecting the information on, all these are collecting the data only, right? So you need to check how the performance of all these monitoring protocols are there, right? With respect to your network size, right? Whether your network is small, whether your network is large, right? So which monitoring tool is the best for you, right? Which monitoring protocol is the best for you, that you need to decide, right? So and because of because obviously the size of the network also varies, and the memory, the processing which will be required, right? So that will the scalability, the load balancing and all that things, right? That also you need to kept in mind while selecting all these things, right? So after netflow we will see the CDP, right? That is a Cisco discovery protocol, right? So it will be a vendor specific protocol, okay. So independent protocol we can call it as, right? So it will be supported for only the Cisco's devices, right? For example, if you see the routers, switches, then access servers, right? So all these kind of the thing it can be used, right? So if you see in this particular diagram also, right? The Cisco proprietary data link protocol, right? So this is nothing but the CDP. Okay, so it will be shows the information about directly connected the Cisco devices, right? And if you see this particular second diagram, right, the how this particular CDP can be work, right? So CDP provides information about neighboring Cisco devices only, right? If you see in this particular diagram, right? Okay, so the person that, right, this particular person which are connect the end devices which are connected to the switch A, right? If you see in this particular switch, um, switch A is written, right? So if you see in that particular switch also, the one router is connected, and again two switches are connected, right? Which are directly connected to this particular switch A, right? So this particular end devices is connected to the switch A. Then again for switch A, the three internet networking devices are connected, two switches and one router, right? In from that the switch B is also there, right? So this particular CDP can be uh, gives you or can be discovered only the Cisco's related devices, right? For example, this router is also Cisco's router. This switch is um, B, and this next switch is also um, uh, Cisco's devices, right? And all these Cisco's devices can be collected information to this particular on switch A, right? That means the neighboring Cisco devices only it can be uh, find out, right? Then for example, if you wanted to find out the this particular router C information, right? So it can't be possible to the switch A, right? Because it is not its neighbor, right? So its neighbor is who? Its neighbor is switch B, right? So so switch A can be collect all the information with respect to the its neighboring devices only, right? So it can't be collect the information for router C, right? For router C, what you need to do? So router B can collect the information from the router C. Why? Because the router C is an neighbor for this particular switch B, right? So it will this particular CDP is we can call it a hello based protocol, right? So all the devices which can be run this particular CDP, right? So it can be at the time to time base, it can be advertise their attributes, right, to their neighbors, right? And how they can be used this by using obviously the multicasting addresses, right? And by using this if the request is accepted, right, from that neighboring devices, right? the, um, then and then only the it can be collect the information, right? So each every this particular Cisco's devices which do the same, right? So that's why this particular protocols also we can be used in a Cisco based network, right? So this is again a vendor specific protocol is there, that is Cisco discovery protocols. Okay, then we will see the this particular syslog, right? So how the syslog is we are using, right? If you see the system messages or error reporting services, what we can call it as, right? So syslog, if you see in this particular message also, right? So it is nothing but the system logs, right? So which can be connected, which have been collected, right? So it can be from the Cisco devices, it can be any kind of the devices. You can collect all these particular messages, right? Which can be a result of your network events, right? So whatever the network in networking, whatever will be happening, right? So that can be, you can collect in terms of the messages in this particular syslog, right? So it gives you the timestamp also, right? So if you see here, this first number, that is 20, it is nothing but the sequence number. Then there is a timestamp, that is 11:31, right? It is nothing but the timestamp, right? Then there is always a percentage sign will be there, okay? So before each of the events, right? Here also the percentage is there, then the facility, right? So what is the facility is giving, right? Then what is the severity of that particular event, right? And then there is a description for that particular event, right? So this is nothing but the structure of this particular syslog messages, if you see, right? So in this syslog also you can be configured any kind of the in any kind of the network, right? If you see in this particular syslog architecture also, right, distributed architecture, so here also the syslog message will be sent to uh, console to this particular syslog server, right? So whatever the device you need to check the all the messages, right? So that you need to configure with this particular syslog messages, right? And after that you can be configured it with the if you wanted to what we can call analyze the logs, right, with respect to the security layer, right? If you wanted to filter some ACLs or any logging data of that particular remote syslog daemons, right? So you can be do that easily with the help of this particular syslog, right? And for these this type of the messages you need to again use this particular syslog analyzer, right? So which can be used for which have an facility for filtering, aggregation, then forwarding all these type of the syslog data to your central server, right? So it can be also an facility of analyzing or processing all these kind of the syslog messages into some visualization, right? So it will be also supporting your reporting, right? So visualization gives you a better understanding of any kind of the network monitoring, right? So for that purpose also this syslog we can used. Okay, so so this is all about today in our last topic, right? So what we have covered today, so we have seen the remaining network management protocol, that is ARMON remote monitoring, ARMON 1, ARMON 2, right? And then we have seen this particular net flow, how it can be used as comparative to your SNMP, ARMON and MIBs, right? Then the vendor specific protocol also we have discussed, that is nothing but the CDP, Cisco Discovery Protocol, with respect to your network management protocols, right? And then last one is your the syslog, right, for how your syslog can be used in terms of your network management, right? So it can be used for visualization and all that part also, right? So this is all about today. So here we are end up with our module number 2, right? So module number 1 and 2 will be the for your unit test 1. Okay, so there is one online test now. Okay, so the link will be shared in your chat box. Okay, so all the students, you need to give this particular test. Okay, so thank you for joining. We will stop today.